Hello everyone, I want to give you a quick update or overview of what BIM is and how it is used in industry and things along those lines if there are no questions. But really it's this webcast is really designed, this particular one is really designed for attendees so they can ask their questions regarding careers, technologies, anything around construction world. Doesn't have to be part of any technology, it could be just regular careers, going abroad, anything along every single subject line that deals with construction. I don't like to talk about technology when it comes to being a cool concept. It's really because we all care about our jobs, our careers, our passions, and how this all things relate to us. And especially want to keep it contextual to anything that applies to the domestic market, especially in India, or how it applies to the students that are coming from India or other regions around that around the Asian markets going into developed countries, and how these technologies are important, and extremely important these days in developed countries. Right? That's our focus. So, okay, Saurav's question. This is the first technical question. I'm from mechanical branch. How will this course help me? See, I think mechanical is one of the papers I've written. One of the courses that we have designed, as a matter of fact, is only for mechanical engineers. See, if you really understand anywhere in the international market or in the domestic market, even in the domestic market, there are two engineering courses that relate to construction industry: mechanical engineering and electrical engineering. But what happens is the construction demands four separate trades: mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection. There is no program for plumbing. There is no program for fire protection. And that seems to be every single building. I mean, I haven't seen any building or a bathroom built without plumbing systems. So what happens is most of the times the mechanical engineers tend to pick up the slack of the plumbing and the fire protection design, because it applies to the fluid dynamics and things along those lines. But it's not as complicated as we think how complicated fluid protection. It's pipe sizes and fluid going through the pipe sizes. So there are very few criteria we have to understand in order to understand how we design. So I'm talking first about design, how we design mechanical systems, electrical systems, plumbing, or fire protection systems. Now, in a construction world or in a designing world, 50 to 60% of the construction cost goes towards MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and typically fire protection is put under plumbing. So these services are very technically important, and most of the money spent in the developed countries at the minimum goes towards these systems. There is no program, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is no program that teaches students how to design mechanical systems, electrical systems, plumbing systems, or even fire protection systems that pertain to construction. The mechanical courses, if I'm not mistaken, are more designed towards industrial application, meaning automobile or engineering kind of concepts, right? And the construction is very different. We're talking about refrigeration, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Right? So what we want to focus is, our focus is to make you specialist in mechanical concepts in construction world, in plumbing concepts in construction world, in fire protection concepts in construction world. That's the goal. It's completely designed for construction applications. Okay. So it's a niche market, and there are barely consultants in India. Today, you can barely find any decent consultants that can design good construction systems. And those are found by the boatloads in the developed countries, because it's a specialty. You cannot just hire someone who knows automobile engineering to design a building. It's completely different. You have to understand how people breathe, how occupants are supposed to be handled, what is the comfort level zones, and these are things that are not taught in the mechanical courses sometimes, right? So it's a completely different dynamics, and for some odd reason, there are in the developed countries there are significant programs for building construction, right, and building engineering, and we don't have them in a domestic market. So that being said, Saurabh, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but coming back to your question about mechanical branch, if you are a specialty branch, right? I'm not talking about civil engineers, but if you're a specialty branch, there is barely anyone in domestic market that can handle a decent engineering jobs around ASHRAE, around international mechanical codes, around international plumbing codes, right? And these are becoming very, very important. Right? I can tell you how many calls I get where companies in India, especially the multinational companies going to India, are looking for someone who can design a decent building for them. It's very difficult, right? Think about it, right? If you have HVAC, if you've heard probably the term HVAC, and HVAC term stands for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Okay. Obviously, from a domestic standpoint, very limited states in India or limited regions in India get into heating, right? We are mostly concerned about V and AC. But think about it, barely any building I know of has a decent ventilation system. We have air conditioning by boatloads. We throw a VRF system, or throw a decent split system, or a window air cooling system. Everything is about air cooling. So we're circulating the same air, right? We're not worried about contamination of the air. We are not worried about bad air, or we are not worried about what we're doing to the buildings when we close our children's and our kids. So there's barely anything going on, and that is how it is going to be conducted. So this is how the course is focused towards understanding the basic concept of air circulation, different systems, how do you engineer these systems, how the building automation works, things along those lines. So Saurabh asked me another question. He says, I want to learn from this course. I don't have any interest in internships in abroad. So can you help me provide training for internships in India? Of course, I think we have hired 100 people so far in just the last 2 years from a mechanical branch in India. We basically train our own people, and right now I think we have a huge demand. We're starting our next batch. We're looking for at least 20 to 30 candidates from the branch of mechanical civil. But our requirement is that they have to finish the program, because our clients that they treat, which are international clients mostly, have a very high expectations. It's just not software or mechanical engineers. They want people who help them or are part of the projects who understand the whole systems. To answer your question, Saurabh, I think your internship is completely, we have 100% internship programs in India, in our offices or our partners' offices. And I truly believe that internship is the key. I would never let anyone graduate from my program, at least, if they are not fulfilled internship programs, because our job is to make sure you have a decent career going forward. Just see, education is not about giving information to you in a selective way. It's about educating you on how to practice that information, right? And what has happened with the education system is, and that's our fight here, is it's more of an information delivery system. And there is barely any practical things that goes around it. So that's the goal. And if so, it looks like I answered Saurabh's question, and that takes me to the next question. Does anyone have any other questions? Swapnil. So Swapnil says, I'm engaged in execution of high-rise buildings. How is it beneficial to me? Swapnil, are you building a high-rise in India or somewhere else? In India. Okay. So high-rise, right? So high-rise systems in India definitely have fire protection systems. High-rises are the key to building information modeling. I don't remember a single building that is built, and that's what our specialty is. We get involved into high-rises, and our specialty is high-rise because at least in the United States, I don't see any single building for last 5 years that has been built without BIM. So how does BIM apply to a high-rise? Okay, I'll talk about more of Indian context, right? Mostly the students that come to me are mostly focused on 4D and 5D. Okay, that's how it applies to the Indian market, because MEP systems are not as solid. So what they're worried about is, how can I finish the project sooner, right? How can I finish budget in time, and how can I get budgets, and how can I understand quantities so I can order the material, I can plan these things properly. Okay, so in a high-rise world, what happens now, especially with the RERA, I'm pretty sure you heard about RERA being passed. What RERA does is two things. Okay, first, it focuses on finishing projects in time. So that is going to be a huge burden on every single developer out in the market. They are required to finish projects in time. And that is not a new concept, right? It's not a new concept abroad or any developed countries. It should not be a new concept into Indian market. Why can't we, when we say 12 months or 16 months of construction, it sometimes takes twice the amount of time to finish the projects. So the time is extremely important. And how do you know what the time is where 40 comes in. It's extremely important to start preparing schedules, right? So how do you take this 3D model and you put together a schedule and you do simulations. These simulations will explain you how the site logistics are working. And I'll show you some samples that we have. And I think we have some samples on NIBT websites also. These simulations will tell you how much labor, resources, money is spent through time in a physical 3D environment, which means you'll show the building going up, what is being constructed will be in green, what is scheduled to be done will be in blue, and things along those lines. The point is, the planning is going to be the key, and which has been non-existent in India, right? Which means you have to plan before you execute a project. And I've seen, we just finished a cancer hospital in Nasik, and it took 4 years to build that hospital. And we went in and we put together a complete program with the construction managers and the contractor on the job site, and we were able to forecast finishing in 24 months. We were able to cut down the timeline of the same project by about 24 months. Now, it could be ambitious. I can say 36 months, but still it's 12 months. And that 12 months gives a huge potential for us to get this. So I either save huge amount of money because someone is taking interest in loans or something. So this money is to be saved. The number two is having a project 12 months means the owner gets to start making money earlier. We're applying this project on a brand new hotel called Marriott Hotels. I'm pretty sure you heard about it. So we're building a huge hotel and we're partnering them in this case study. So one of the things when you become our students is we want to get you exposed to the live projects, the reality of the market, simple as it is, and how these things are applied in there. The second thing is cost. When we have these models, we have direct access to BOQs, right? If someone is engineering or designing a project, 15 minutes later, he has a detailed quantity takeoff by every single brick, every single concrete masonry unit, blocks, whatever you want to call it, how much of concrete, how much of rebar, everything is designed in the building. So it becomes very easy for quantity takeoff. So you can split a button, says this much material I need 2 months from now, this much material, this much billing. So that's the benefit of a high-rise building, because it goes fast. It is more productive, right? So I'm not sure, Swapnil, if you have learned the concepts of scheduling, and scheduling is extremely important before you get into 4D and 5D, because without a scheduling, call it Primavera, Microsoft project, any software unit, but there are many techniques that you have to learn. There are new techniques that are coming in the market that are called lean processes. If you want to Google search it, understand lean processes. There's an institute called Lean Institute that has come up with lean concept, which gets into, forget about scheduling, gets into pull planning and push planning. Those are the tools that will be teaching if we get into the 301's construction management programs that helps you plan better. Okay, something hopefully I explained your question. If you have any more, you can keep asking me. So let's go to Rahul's question. Sir, Rahul is a civil engineer having associated with the construction of power plants and recently moved into residential. I desperately feel the need of BIM. Please suggest how to make transition from traditional to BIM based. If your question, Rahul, is how a as an organization, you help them understand innovation, how to bring innovation into an organization. I think it's a whole different organizational behavior study that we have to work with you separately to help you understand how. So I worked with two corporations, multi-billion-dollar corporations, where I was director of innovation. And these are the challenges we ran into, how to bring innovation in an organization. Because when someone talks about innovation, someone says, oh, it doesn't work in Indian market, it doesn't work here, it doesn't work here. This is what happened to us 10 years back. BIM was what it is in India 10 years back. No one was ready to accept it. People thought it was just a fancy way. Thing is now not a single project gets awarded without BIM. It's a mandatory requirement. Okay. And the reason behind that is because it has a realistic application. It has to be proven. It needs a learning curve, which means someone needs to know how to apply it in a real fashion, show them projects that have really been successful with these technologies and concepts, and then hopefully the transition comes up. The transition in any organization comes two ways: bottom up and top down. These are two ways the transition happens, right? BIM, to be honest with you, have always been a bottom up story for me. Okay, meaning someone. Like for me, example, I started BIM in my organization. We were about 1,000 employee company, did about $3.5 billion when I was working for a general contractor in US. And we started using these technologies on a project. And what I did is I was a project manager running a huge project. And I started using this. This is 2010, 2011, right? And maybe earlier. So I started architect had an architectural model, so I started playing with it, and I started showcasing how I was showing. So I would, every time someone come with a question, I would open this 3D model and say, listen, this is the door. See how you go through here and put this door here, and how shows him things where I would cut a section. He said, I don't know how to do this. I'll just take a model, cut a section at that location. So it was so interactive, because in a CAD world, the section is section. What you get is what you get. You cannot just, if you have to go and create a section where there is no section, it takes a lot of time. In the information model, it's a matter of 5 minutes. You can take sections anywhere. You can make 3D models of anything in 5 to 10 minutes because you already have a full model. It's just a matter of selectively taking the information out. So these things helped us on the job sites, number one. The second thing that they were helping us with is having coordination issues, right? Especially with the systems that they were coordinated. If you're a power plant or something which is integrated systems, you need to know exactly where things are put in place, because A, it makes the job more organized, and B, it makes the job more productive. So that's how we use it in power plants and mechanical plants, and when we do here. Number 3 is prefabrication. When we get into BIM, Rahul, the prefabrication becomes extremely important, because now you have designed the building virtually the way it is supposed to be constructed in reality. Point blank, you can print. If you could print the building, we will not need any builders in the future, right? And that's where we are going with the 3D printing. And now they started to print concrete. Yesterday, I was doing a project where there is a 40-unit apartment building in Boston that we are bidding, going after, which is built by robotics. Complete robotics, wood frame building. The point is, these automations are coming into the market, we like it or not, and these automations are integrated with building information modeling, either controls or construction of the buildings or management of the buildings. And it is completely related to prefabrication in construction world, right? Because you can see things, you can literally go and build it before. If you're pouring foundations, for example, you might be building, prefabricating the 3rd floor in your warehouse. So the moment the 3rd floor is ready, the whole mechanical plant or electrical plant, whatever you're putting, can just be dropped in with a crane, and it's done. And that's how we do construction here. We just finished a project in New York. And again, please guys, don't think this is a concept. I know I've worked in Indian markets myself. I know these are not a concept for it's just it's not a concept of international experience or anything else. It is a concept of opening your mind. These things are possible anywhere. Okay, we're trying to do it in Marriott in India. We're trying to do it in cancer hospital. We're trying to get all these things possible in India, because it's just a matter of the materials on the concrete is concrete, sheet metal is sheet metal, rebar is rebar, people are people. There is no different. What we have here is just planning, and BIM helps us to plan better. So prefabrication is another key thing when it comes into power plants. Residential, see, I don't know. Residentials are barely skeletons of, basic plumbing systems and things like that. Everything can be prefabricated. The point is, when RERA comes in, the time is going to be of essence. Finishing projects in timely fashion, even fast deliveries are going to be critical. Okay. So Rahul, if you have any questions other than what I just explained, from transition of your corporation wise or your transition, you have to learn the concepts of BIM. And that's the program. The first, if you're just trying to understand BIM, the first program, which is a 101 series that we're doing, is really the key for you, which is going to be from point cloud modeling to scanning and everything that parts of how we apply BIM, the softwares, and everything else that applies to the BIM is the 101 side. The 201 program that we're doing is we're actually teaching you the software. We're focusing on the software so you can apply the technologies in the real world. We know the softwares are not good enough. You need to understand the engineering and the concepts of construction before you can apply them carefully. And that's why we created a 301, which helps you to apply the models and the technology correctly because you understand construction. Those are the 3 platforms of our engagements. Okay. Rahul, if you have any more questions, feel free to ask me. I'll move to Abhilesh. Abhilesh says, I'm a civil engineer branch and a postgraduate in quantity surveying and contract management from NICMAR, and I'm working for an AEC private limited in cost planning department. How these courses helps to my particular role? Okay, so I'm a ex-NICMAR guy myself. Before I went to Virginia Tech for my construction management, I did NICMAR's construction management in I think they have a business management at that point, and a couple of other quantity surveys was one of them, 100%. So quantity surveying is really critical, right? When you have a BIM model, quantity surveying is a byproduct and not necessarily a loaded job, right? So when you have a quantity surveying information, for example, if you have to go in and find out how much brick masonry you need, how much paint you're supposed to buy, how much concrete is going to be bought, how much rebar you have to buy, those are not the things that you do with BIM. Okay, with BIM, if someone has designed the jobs, it takes 20 minutes to put out a quantity survey. I'm not exaggerating. I have put out bazillion amount of quantity surveys with exactly number, and I am so accurate that my quantities don't move by 1%. I see, that's technology. Quantity surveys, if you do manually, will always have a tolerance of 5 to 10%, no matter what, because it's a human factor. You're guessing. With BIM, there is no guessing. This is where the wall goes. We know what the size of the brick masonry is, and this is how many units you need. End of conversation. There is no other options. It's not a concept. BIM is not a concept. It's a reality of the application in the virtual world. And if you know how to do it right, you'll be the fastest quantity surveyor that you could have ever imagined. Okay. We put multi-million-dollar bids in about 5 to 10 days. I'm talking about 50, 60 million dollar worth of bids that requires quantities, estimating, and everything in about 2 weeks. Okay, that's huge. It's numbers are numbers, right? The labor rates and the rate per unity is what you have to put in, but the quantity itself is no brainer. The concept of quantity surveyor, I think, will go away. There is no concept of quantity surveyor in international markets. No need for it. It is, in my opinion, it is about to go away or have a different name. It could be an estimator or whatever. But if you don't need a special person, when BIM comes in, we don't need a special person to do quantity takeoff. It's by default comes out of the system. Okay, Abhilesh? So how this course helps is exactly doing that. We are going to teach you how to do quantity takeoffs, how to design, not only design the building, but how to do quantity takeoffs in 20 minutes. Anything and everything you want. If you want to do per floor, you want to do by section, you want to do by date, however you want to do quantity takeoffs. If we can cut and slice and however you want to do it. That's the best of it. The point is how you plan it, because if you don't need 5,000 units of the brick coming on May 1st, how do you know you don't need 5,000? This is the model. It will tell you exactly how many units you need by week, by month. You can forecast. Okay, so that's the whole scheduling and planning that goes into construction management, which is really the 301, where this is the concept. See, the tools, there's processes, tools, and application of processes and tools. Okay, and that's where management comes into the place. I think NICMAR itself, I think it does a good job, but to me, I feel that none of the programs, I did the program, and I know a few students who just graduated, nothing has changed. And I'm just thinking to myself, if I did my program in 2004. And if after all these years, 13, 14 years, if nothing has changed, that's just, the whole industry has changed here, right? So let's go to the next question. Emma, please share your view about adoption of BIM in India and opportunities. It's not a question of if BIM will be adopted. It's a question of how soon it will be adopted. And that's our push here. There was no legitimate institution. I think there were pieces of the puzzle that showed the software. And there were a lot of software teaching programs out there, Navisworks and Revit and everything. And I think construction management, right? Construction management is integrated with BIM. You cannot just talk about two different things. When it comes to construction, BIM is inevitable. It is part of it. It's like you cannot talk about construction without talking about concrete, right? You cannot just say, how can concrete help in construction, right? It used to be, if you think about transition of how things are changing, right? If you understand the transition of how humans evolved and construction evolved, we originally had, let's say you had chisel and hammer. What you would do is you go and carve caves to make yourself get yourself a shelter. Then suddenly we got building technologies, which is lattice, mortise joint and dovetail joints and wood technologies and other things, and how to tie a rope and things like that. And suddenly the construction evolved into closer toward the waterfronts, and people started building using wood and raw materials because they had techniques to build it. Then suddenly there was a huge revolution in materials, right? We got steel, concrete. What happens with that is suddenly the problem of, hey, by the way, there is use, because the natural materials couldn't go higher. I didn't have the capacity to go higher. Suddenly the modern materials help us solve the problem. Now we have concrete jungles. We have inefficient buildings. We have energy losses. We have ineffective planning. And the digital front is coming to solve the problem. Digital is the modern construction tool. So if you are thinking about how to transition from concrete to digital world, think about how did you transition from wood construction to concrete construction. It started 20 years back in the United States. It is starting in India now. Question is, are you going to be the forefront? Because eventually a lot of people will be there. It's not a question of will it happen, question of when it will happen, right? So adoption of BIM is very simple. You have to understand the BIM demand in the global market is huge, right? In the local market, it is a value. People first look at how much money do I make? How much money am I spending? AutoCAD is $4,000 per license, and Revit is $9,000 per license. I don't find people with Revit software in the market. Try to find a person who knows Revit to begin with, just the software. Okay, forget about if he knows construction or not. It's going to be difficult to find. So the supply is very limited, and that's why the demand doesn't know. And the point we're trying to make here is we're trying to make the markets aware, and we're trying to push this supply side of it so the demand can understand how much demand it needs. We think we need, in next 5 years, if India has 5 people in BIM today, India's requirement for BIM is 1 lakh. And that's amount how much it is behind the 8 ball in BIM, because it doesn't know. The construction industry in India is probably the worst construction industry, construction technology wise and adoption technology wise globally, where it stands with the economic. You have seventh largest country in terms of our GDP, or and how we stand in country, but we're way behind the 8 ball in construction technology, way behind the 8 ball, right? So there is a huge demand that is going to come in, to answer your question. So let's go and talk about next question. Let's see. Abhilesh's next question is, I've learned Navisworks for 3D modeling planning based on small segment assignments. I'm not sure that is a question. I'm not sure what you're trying to ask, Abhilesh. If you want to rephrase your question, it will help. Rahul, thanks for elaborate explanation. With many softwares, how to decide the opt one, sir? It's very simple, guys. Okay, you have to understand what your goal is. Let me first explain what BIM is, okay? Because I think most of the people don't understand what BIM is. BIM is like internet. What is internet? What is internet? Is internet a software? Is internet a process? Is internet a visual platform? Is internet a database platform? We don't know. Yes, we know. It is all of the above. That is what building information management is to construction. It's an internet in construction. Okay, so there is no software. If you want energy analysis, there is a different software. If you want acoustic analysis, there is a different software. If you want to do point cloud modeling and scanning, there's a different software. If you want to do 4D planning, there's a different software. If you want to do 5D planning, there's a different software. If you want to be specialist in XD and automation, there's a different software. If you want to do prefabrication, there's a different software. I can go on and on and on. The point is where your skill set is. Is it construction management? Is it a specific course where you're getting into mechanical engineering? Right now, for example, like if you're doing mechanical engineering, we have machines here, and I think these machines are pretty old, that when we finish a building model, we hit print button and the sheet, duct metal and mechanical systems are fabricated directly. We don't need anyone between it. It's completely automated. So if you're a mechanical engineer and you're interested in mechanical side of it, you have a different set of softwares to learn. If you are visualization part, then it's SketchUp. The point is there is no software. So please understand, BIM is not, if you know BIM, you don't know anything and everything. You have to pick what your skill set is going to be and find that niche. Because if you try to do it all, there is no such thing. You cannot learn all the internet. Okay, so the first thing is understanding what is internet, and I think that's our first course, which is 101 General, which gives you complete perspective and lets you play with all the tools of what I just mentioned. Okay, and lets you get exposed to it. And then you pick which tool and which process you want to get detailed and specific about, and then you get into. You might get multiple specifications, and that's completely fine. But first you have to know what software is used. If I say Revit tomorrow, I think you'll find yourself into the design market, and you won't find yourself into fabrication market or energy analysis market or other markets. So it's very difficult if someone try to tell you that tool or a software is what BIM is. Trust me, software is only 10% of what BIM is. Okay, and I was appointed as a lecturer to come at Virginia Tech to talk about automation. So I want to show you something. Okay, so check out this website. Okay, it's opening up, and as soon as it's live, I'll show it to you. And I'll actually text it on the screen. So this is a technology front that I'm pushing for, and you can understand where the future of BIM is. There is a YouTube video. When I was at Smart Cities conference earlier this year, I made a presentation on how the BIM is getting adapted and how are the next phases of the technology, right? And I think that goes into Abhilesh's question. As technology evolves, roles are changing, and how could be the organization breakdown structure is in BIM implementation organization. Okay, so BIM, right? And there is Abhilesh, you have a fantastic question, and I want to get to that question because that's what I'm trying to make. the jobs that we know as civil engineers and other things are getting completely revised in the modern market. You won't see a opening for a civil engineer in any of the developed countries, right? And this is, I don't think I have ever seen it in my career path, which is 20, for 20 years now. So the changes now, we see BIM managers, BIM coordinators, BIM specialists, BIM technicians, BIM directors. These are the jobs that are coming up in the market. Everyone needs them. Okay. And it's basically, I'll get into what, and that's our program. Our program is to create a next assets for any organization and the industry that are going to take the future of the construction. Okay. So, I hope the website is up. It's still working, but I just texted the link. If you want to open that link, you'll understand. It's on automation, and that's one of the things I started saying. See what happens with when there's a delay in adoption in the construction technology, we sometimes skip. Okay, so we skip technologies, right? We don't see some of the transitions in the mobile phone technologies. We don't see some of the transitions in adoption of internet technology sometimes, or 4G. We might skip a process between 3G. If it took 3G to 4G transition took 1 year in United States, we might see it in 2 months. We might skip 4G. We can jump to 5G, right? Sometimes. The point is, what happens with BIM, and the reason I'm so worried about people learning the software is we are creating ourselves a huge problem. And I want to show you, I hope I can open it now, and you should see this video. And that's my scary part and the reason why I started this program. See, I'll summarize in about a sentence. Construction or technology inherently is consistent. Technology inherently is very consistent. If the computer fails, it fails consistently. If the computer does something, gives an error, it gives you consistently. Whatever it is very consistent. The problem is the human application and human integration with the technology is where the problem happens. It's the human side error that are inconsistent. Is the application of the software by the humans where the errors happen and are unpredictable. Okay, if you use AutoCAD and AutoCAD hangs, you know where it hangs. If you have a size, you have a couple of windows, you can predict where it happens. But if someone did not put right information in the Revit model or AutoCAD model, you cannot guess. It's individual to individual to individual is different. The problem is the inconsistency of that application is where the problems are happening, especially in the international markets. So the solution to that is artificial intelligence, automation. Get out of any people using resources. Start automating things. So get away from people applications, right? If that makes any sense. So the point is, if you know a software, the software is going to change, because if you can use a software and it can be automated, your job is gone. That's how fast it is changing. Okay. If you know AutoCAD and you were a draftsman, and AutoCAD is just a 2 button clicks away from Revit. When you print CAD file, it gives you CAD file. You don't need to draft anything. Okay. So these things are extremely, extremely important for you to understand how the technology is evolving. And that's why it is important to understand that you have to realize the management aspect of it, the application aspect of it, so that you're not a software specialist, but a technology specialist, and you can move the technology the way you want it. The point is, we don't want to teach you the tools. We don't want you to be expert in a software. We want you to be expert in how to select a software that works for a certain job and be adapted to it. Okay, that's the goal that we're trying to get you involved in. And that's where the deception happens, when quickly BIM becomes a software. It is not a software. End of conversation. Okay, don't get into that trap ever. So let's go to the next question. I'm sending up a YouTube video for you to see from my smart cities, and you'll understand where we're coming from and why I'm so engaged in teaching the fundamentals of BIM and not really get into the, we'll post it after the webinar. So next question is Rahul's question, how to decide the software. I think I explained you. I kind of confused you maybe, Rahul. The point is, I think the general program, don't get quickly excited about picking up a software. To answer your question, it's very simple. Understand what the concepts are. Then you can pick a software. You'll spend money picking up a software and realize a software that you picked was not for you, or you become a draftsman because you know the software and now you cannot get out of that tool, and you'll spend years of your life becoming an expert in the software and then realize that's not for you. So don't get there. There is no short answer to it. I don't want to give you a short answer. Can you help me with the fee structure? Can I help you with the fee structure? Saurabh, I'm not sure how can I don't know what the answer would be there. Yes, I think we are more than flexible. You have to realize, guys, I'm looking for students who are really motivated. Okay, because the point is, we have so much workload. We get inquiries to hire students by so much. There's so much demand but the problem with what I focus on is quality. We're trying to build a brand that is for BIM. So if we get every single student, if we get all the students, then it becomes very difficult, right? It becomes very difficult to control quality of education because it's for everyone and there is no selection criteria. So what we drive to do is we try to select the best out of, because we have limited seats, so we cannot pick anyone, Saurabh, right? So the first structure I think you have to realize is we'll work with you on the fee structure to a certain extent, but there is very few limitations we can do because we don't want to get into any regular institution or any technical school or classes where it's everyday management becomes an issue. So you can talk to our counselors and they will help you what fee structures we have. And I'm pretty sure we can work around some of the options that we can give you. So hope I answered your question. Abhilash, yes, there is no concept of quantity takeoff after BIM implementation, but how far for the role of QS planning when a successful BIM engineer evolves for construction projects? I think I tried to answer that question earlier. When BIM evolves, I'm not saying the jobs are going away. I think it will take a different envelope. You'll be a cost planner. You'll be a cash flow manager. You'll be a quantity manager or something along those lines. You'll be a prefabrication to logistics planner, something like, I think it will evolve. The successful BIM engineer's job is to make sure he's well versed with the concepts. If you are into quantity takeoff, which means you need material and cash. There are two things. You have to understand the cash flow of how the material moves, which helps you in procurement, because you might want to know when I have to procure it. Procuring something too early is not good. Neither procuring something at the last minute is good. Getting materials, right? Because as you procure, you realize the more you stay on the market, sometimes you get better numbers. That's what we do. So the strategizing just procurement is extremely effective when it comes to quantity takeoff. So I think the whole quantity takeoff industry will have multiple applications as the engineer who does quantity takeoff grows into that industry. So the next question is, Abhilash, as technology evolves, roles are changing, and how would an organization breakdown structure is in BIM? Okay, I think I answered that question with organization structure. I think the whole role of BIM is not there. The whole package of BIM managers, the BIM technicians, BIM specialists, BIM coordinators, I can keep naming it, is not there yet. That group of people are not there in India. And every single organization, every single contractor, every single mechanical engineer, every single person has that department now in United States. So it is not a question of if it will happen, when it will happen, and are you guys ready to start a revolution in Indian markets, in your organizations? After the course and internship completion, how can we implement for construction markets in India? I think it's not you will be implementing in construction markets in India, right? It is a question of, if you do buildings in India, and I know you do, then you can apply BIM in India. It's very straightforward. Instead of AutoCAD, you'll be using different software. Instead of using you'll be using more construction management tools. You'll be using more logistics management tools. The question is how efficiently you can put it in place. The question is not how it will work in India. The question is how efficiently you can apply them in India, because there is obviously an application. It's a construction software. So you realize, if you know AutoCAD is nothing but a line. You use line command to draw doors, right? You use line command to do fabrication. Anything is a line. It's a vector-based system. There's nothing. It is almost line work. When you have BIM is not a line work concept. It's a parametric modeling concept, where a fabrication of a beam is a beam. Where the penetrations go in the beam are the penetrations in the beam. The concrete reinforcement is a concrete reinforcement. You can simulate a concrete reinforcement and see how much reinforcement you are planning. Right now, it's just an engineering calculation. When you get into structures, and there are multiple softwares. There's Tekla, there is SDC, SDS, there is Revit, and all these tools are doing is trying to explain you how quickly you can automate where and how much reinforcement you need. So to answer your question, I think the internship is going to get you exposed to the BIM concepts and application in the construction world. Number two, it's going to explain you what the construction world is and how it changes. And I know we did a case study, and I can explain you how the case study works, okay? And I think that will answer Abhilash's question and many people's question. So let me see. Do we have time? So I'll ask you a question. How many people know construction industry in India and how the workflow happens? So what is the first step? If you are a project, and we're not building a small house. If you are the person who are the owners of the company and you want to start a project, let's say you want to build a hospital, for example, okay, or big residential project. What is the first step you do? You hire a set of architects. Am I correct? Right. So after you hire a set of architects, right, I want you guys to plan and work with me. What happens? So the first step is architecture. What does the architect do? He gets consultants. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural consultants. Okay. Then what do consultants do? Consultants will make design drawings. After the consultant does design drawings, okay, after the consultant does design drawings, they will go in and create design documents that go out to quantity surveyor or some sort of service that will put out a tender. Am I correct so far? Exactly. Design development. Village got it, right? So design development. Then they'll put out some quantity surveys, and they'll put out what we call is a tender or an RFP. Okay, if it's a design service RFP and everything else, it will start earlier. But a construction, right, there's an RFP for actual construction. So the RFP comes out or a tender document comes out, then the contractor will go in and put their own numbers in front of that tender quantity surveys, whatever the number is. You know, if he has 5,000 units for brick and he says, I'll put one brick for 3 rupees or 5 rupees or whatever it is, he'll put a tender in, the tender gets selected. Then what happens is after this tender selection is the next step happens where the low bidder or a qualified bidder is selected, right? Once the qualified bidder is selected, the qualified bidder goes and hires their own construction company. Meaning if you got the full project, you'll hire your own concrete contractor, you'll hire your own electrical contractor, you'll hire your own mechanical contractor, things like that. So you'll hire multiple sets of contractors. These contractors are required to submit shop drawings or submittals, or however you want to look at it, to basically do the architects and the designers so that they can select and make sure everything is coordinated. Okay, project coordination starts happening here. Okay, project coordination starts happening here. Project coordination, when it starts happening here, is these guys will submit shop drawings. So a mechanical contractor will submit his shop drawings, and all these shop drawings will go to the architect and their consultants. And at that point, they will start overlaying these drawings to make sure everything fits. If you have done on a decent large scale projects, you'll realize this is the process. They will start putting it in place. Then the architect will start thinking, okay, where do I put this thing? So this doesn't work, that doesn't work. They'll start moving things around, designing and things along those lines. We'll go back to the shop drawing people. They'll say, no, I only bid on 20 linear feet of pipe. Now it's 40 linear feet because it doesn't fit. Change orders comes, more money comes, delays happen. Then you'll come with the shop drawing. This process will take time. And then the construction actually starts. With the BIM, the whole process, as we know in construction industry, will change. When the owner hires a design team, when they design using BIM tools. When the BIM tools come out, they have completely, they're called clash free. If someone told me they did Navisworks, they're designed in 3D world. Elevations, heights, everything is done. That's how they're designed. They'll do clash detection to make sure there are no clashes. They will not need a quantity surveyor. They'll click a button and then they will print out what is called as bill of materials. Architects might do it. No need for a third-party person. Tenders will be filled out and the shop drawings people or the subcontractors will be hired. Subcontractors will not make shop drawings. The model is there. We know exactly where things are going. What is a need for shop drawings? Let's go to construction. The point is, the whole process is such streamlined that everything that is part of construction is done during pre-construction phase. Everything is planned, bought out, where it is going to be executed, shop drawings are done, everything is done. The point of hiring a contractor is merely to execute the strategy. Not to create a strategy, to re-establish a strategy, and not waste time in any of those things. Number two, no more cost escalations, no more time escalations. Everything is planned. We know exactly where things are going, how much material we need. There is no need for changes. There is no need for anything. The amount of changes will be very limited. We have seen if we from an efficiency of 50 to 60%, we're getting to an efficiency of 90 to 95%. The 5% of tolerance is still there. No matter what happens, it's still going to be there. Okay, so that's the application in Indian markets. We are evolving the whole situation. If you are in that position to evolve one step at a time, the whole situation gets evolved. Because the moment you implement, the whole workflow changes. Okay, and that's why we get into other delivery systems, which is called design build delivery systems, integrated project delivery systems, and other delivery systems. Okay, so I'm pretty sure if you're in NICMAR, you were taught this, but you never used it if you're in your market, because it's very difficult to use it with the concepts that we have now. So Abhilash, did I answer your question? I take it as a yes. Okay, any other questions? Because I see that we still have 15 attendees, which means I have not put you to sleep. So that's good. So Abhilash, I see that you are already working for a company. What company are you working for? If you can all tell me what you guys, what you are all doing. Emma, everyone, if you can tell me if you're working in industry, where you're working, what is your background, a little bit more about you. Swapnil is an engineer in charge. Excellent. Okay, Emma is an independent BIM trainer. Excellent. Emma, where do you train BIM? What area? Okay, Abhilash, you're in QS planning, engineering, design consultant for Saudi Arabia. Yep. Yeah, I think that's why you're more used to seeing this BIM, because I think the Middle East and the developed countries are using it. And the only reason why we don't have a better application in India is because there's very limited supply. Anyone who knows a little bit of BIM is either running is mostly running abroad, and because the opportunities are huge and there's no point in staying in India. So that's the point, is there's so much limited supply that like companies are hesitating. I mean, I know I get a lot of my friends in India, they always tell me, listen, if I want BIM, I'll have to pay so much salary because there are no more people there. And it's tough to get people. And then I have to spend salaries on, so I have to buy softwares, things like that. At the point that tells me that they are excited about it. They're just trying to find money for it. That's what we call in the business is, okay, we love the technology, we love the innovation. How do we find resources and how do we make it so that it is part of our overheads, operations funds. And so I think slowly, where can I learn in BIM India? Obviously, that's what we're doing. Swapnil is asking, where can I learn the BIM in India? It's obviously our institution, National Institute of Building Technology, is probably what I would recommend. There is no doubt. Yes, but our company, they recruited for BIM, but now they don't want to implement BIM. That's very normal, Abhilash. I think I've seen some of your questions. Listen, there are, even in United States, there are people who are skeptics about BIM. The point is, in your life, there are people who are skeptic about iPhones and they still use flip phones, or they're skeptics about phones. There are people who are skeptic about internet today. People feel the internet is bad. We cannot stop them, right? What we have to do is, the point is, we have to look at the market and see, listen, 99% of the people are on the internet. The skeptics are 1%. Do I need to be part of them or not? Or how do I change myself from a skeptic? People will change eventually, either the market, right? So there are two things that happen if you understand how the construction adoption takes place or technology adoption takes place. One is people who are early adopters because they believe in the innovation, number one. Number two, there are people who believe in money. Everyone wants to be a bottom line, but the process is different. People invest in innovation. That's an expense. And after they innovate, it becomes a value. And they are the leading components of the value. Other side of people is let others innovate. When everyone starts adopting, I will start adopting because I will not have any option. They are the late adapters of the technology. If they don't know, if they don't want to implement BIM, they probably don't have people who know how to implement BIM correctly. And that is the market's problem. You can go and sit there with the software and say, I know BIM, I know Revit, but you look at the construction and you don't know how to adapt it. And that's where it fails. I'll be more than happy to look at what you do and explain you and teach you how to adapt BIM in your organization so they can see some bottom line benefits, period. It's not a question of can you get efficient. It's a question of how you apply to get efficiency. Okay. So it is important how you apply to get the institution. So Swapnil asks the question, and I get this question all the time. Does your institute provide an online or a distance learning program? Swapnil, I would love to. As I said, my problem is, and it is my problem, I want to make sure you're successful. If I do an online program, and I would love to do that, just like we're doing now, I can give you information and you will be more informed. Listen, don't get confused between informed and educated. Right now, if you didn't know BIM and you're listening to this workshop, you are getting more informed. Some people might call it educated. And if you're happy being more informed using an online course, I would love to give you that. The point is, when you come out my educate institute, I want to make sure that people are running after you to get them in their offices, because you're not informed. You know exactly how to execute it. You're end to end an expert. And that's why I believe in an on-course program or on-site program, right? I cannot give you a virtual machine to put on your head to see how the virtual technology can be applied in construction and how things are. I cannot hand on a drone to you and say, listen, online drone, here's how drones work. I have to get you into my in our on-course program, so I can give you those headsets and you put on your eyes, and so you can play with the technology. That's where you can play with the drones, the robotics, and everything else. How do I do it online? I cannot do it online. What we've tried to do is, there are two pieces of the puzzle in an institution. One is, we really want you to come on campus. That way you can get experience of how the reality of the market is, how we are interacting with the client, because we are going to work on live projects, period. You are going to understand the bad, the good, the bad, the ugly of BIM, everything. People don't ask you if you know Revit, they ask you if you know construction. They ask you how can you, this helps in construction. So it is important to understand everything, and we can only deliver that to you if you're on campus. Now, if I have to teach you Revit, if I have to teach you software, I can deliver that online. I have no problem doing that. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to deliver something online. And if you really need to give us that 1 week, at least a week, and when you come there for a week, I want you to be open-minded. You're paying for yourself. I want everyone to understand, when you come to this institution, don't come there as if you are coming there to learn a software. I want you to come with an open mind. It will be a crash course. I think it will be like an army drill, where we are going to make you work so much that you will regret that you signed up for this course. But if you finish this course, I promise you, you will have a successful career. You will be the pioneers in understanding BIM, and you can teach people what they don't know about BIM. Okay. So Swapnil, yes, I think, how long is the on-campus course go? So I think we want 1 week. We have a crash course of 1 week that gives you the concepts of BIM. We call it a 101 series. The 200 series, we are completely fine giving you off campus. All we want is to join us at least for 1 week. If you're taking a 201 course, okay, the first 101 course is extremely important that you stay on campus. 201 course, we can deliver you. It's a 60-day program. So, and it takes software, and there is no fast track in learning a software. If someone is giving you a 15-day Revit or Navisworks program, don't waste your money. Okay, don't waste your money. There's plenty of tools available. We want to make sure you know the software perfectly the way you're supposed to know it. And it takes time. It takes time to learn the software and experiment it. So 60-day program and 1 week of on campus. The 1 week of on campus can be a 40-day program. But what we've done is, we have done a 12-hour program, 12 hours a day program. So I can fit everything in 1 week. So 1 week, 60 days. And then the third segment, which is a 301 segment, which gets into construction management of aspects of it. And more, I'm not talking about construction management as we know it, I don't know, through NICMAR or whatever it is, which are really old concepts. We're talking about the modern concepts of construction management as it integrates with mechanical systems, plumbing systems, all the service-oriented systems. Okay, that I have not thought about it if you can deliver it on campus and off campus. Right now, we are broadcasting on campus, so you will be able to do it offline. But if you feel that, no, I don't like what is happening offline, I want you to come to on campus. But everything will be broadcasted. Okay, so first week is what I need mandatory. The second week, no need. Third week, it's optional. You can pick or choose. Got it? You got it, boss. Swapnil, thank you. Any other questions? So I heard more from Emma, Abhilesh, Swapnil have been very engaged. Saurabh, what do you do if you're still there? And Rahul, I want to know more about you, what you do. I know you're a civil engineer, you're involved in construction. And I think Akhil and Prasad and Himanshu, I have not heard from you. I'm assuming you're still there, and I'm trying to answer all your questions. Akhil is a civil engineer. Got it. Is Swapnil, your question is BIM still the substitute? Is BIM the substitute for structural designing? I just had a 1 hour conversation with you, and now you're asking me a very specific question. Let me ask you this. Is HTML internet? If you know anything about, no, it's not a substitute for structural. BIM is structural designing. BIM is construction planning. BIM is quantity takeoff. It's everything. It's building information modeling. If you're in the world of construction, information in any form, structure, architecture, mechanical, any information, any 3D object, if you can see it, touch it, it's 3D, it's building. Information is something that you cannot touch, feel. It is something that is the source, right? We call it metadata in technology, right? That's what it's integrated with. Everything, including paint colors, how much content of lead is in paint is part of BIM. Should the air conditioning turn come on at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m.? Internet of Things, how they're integrated with BIM is also BIM. The whole smart cities concept is going to depend on BIM. They don't know that yet. They're just trying to put some sensors and trying to figure something out, but it's all going to be BIM. So it's everything and everything. If you want to be specialized in structure, that's what you want to do, then yes, you can specialize yourself into structural designing using BIM, which means running simulations on structural animations. How much concrete goes? Can you make things? If you move a BIM, what happens? Right? What happens if you change the size of the BIM? How does it impact it? It is very difficult to do that now. It's very difficult to do that now because you have to do the whole engineering analysis. With BIM, you change the size of the column. You say, okay, that's how the loads changes. What if I add a beam and make 3 small beams? What happens then? You can run this if scenarios very easily with BIM and give a better product. Got it? All right. Yes, everything. Yes, you're right, Swapnil. It's a complete solution for construction industry, period. So Rahul's question is, I'm working with PMC in Bangalore, involved in execution of a residential project. Fantastic. So your project management, which means you use different tools in project management that are BIM. You're not, so in BIM, there are 2 concepts. Okay. One is called as an authoring concept, and one is called as a federated concept. A federated concept is used in PMC. Okay. And an authoring concept is used in engineering or designing. What is the difference? Authoring means when you draw a model, you model something, right? Which means you're authoring a model. You're saying, here's the wall. Here's what I'm going to draw the door. Here's where I'm going to do this. These are called authoring programs. Okay. And then there are federated programs, which are for construction planning. Okay. I cannot change where the wall goes. Wall is where the architect tells me where the wall goes. I have to plan how this wall is going to be executed. Is the federation part of it. I have to plan if this wall is possible to be built. The means and methods to build it is the concept of federated management. So these are the 2 concepts. Okay. And then PMC gets into automations and other things, which is where we're going with this, right? But basic 2 concepts, if it makes sense. So Rahul, for you, if you're in a PMC role, the federated is what you're interested in. You necessarily don't want to know how to draw a wall in Revit. Not necessarily. You want to know if someone has drawn the wall, everything is drawn. How do I build strategies around it to execute it? Okay. So here is Gaurav. Gaurav, hello sir. I'm Gaurav Badani, owner and founder of Badani QS Institute. Fantastic, Gaurav. So you also have an institution. I'm not an institution background. I don't, to be honest with you, that's something we have started because we feel there's a huge need to be educating. We have our offices across the world, pretty much Australia, Canada, Middle East, and multiple of them in United States. And the point is, really, we've been working so much in this area. We feel that it is important to teach this program the way we know how it is applied in reality. So I would love to get questions, and if you can, Gaurav, if you can help me guide, because I'm not an institution runner. I would love to get your feedback so that I can help everyone get a better training program. Okay. So thank you. Thank you for joining us. Anyone else did I miss? Is Prasad still there? I know I missed Prasad, right? I haven't heard from Prasad, or did I hear from Saurabh? I did hear from Saurabh. So I hope this was useful for everyone. It was not a complete waste of time. And we want to continue to do this question and answer series. The idea of this question and answer series was really to put FAQs, right? So what we want to do is take this audio that we did today, cut it into small pieces, and kind of get all the questions answered for the future students, so we don't have to keep doing this. But I think I liked the way the interaction happened, especially how Rahul and some other people, Swapnil especially, and Abhilesh kind of interacted, because they're working in the industry there. And I can see after talking to Rahul and Abhilesh that there is, like, people are aware of BIM. If they're into industry, they're aware of BIM. They just don't know how to apply it. Is there a shortage of people? There's a shortage of talent of how the BIM is applied. And those are the things we want to get engaged with. One of the things we want to do is really have something called as NIBT incubator. And the incubation is really the question of when we talk about internships, right? We want people like Abhilesh, Swapnil, and other people who are working in industry to help us support the incubation side of it. And that means after the program is taught, people still need to know how the technology is applied in the real market. Abhilesh companies, organization doesn't know how to apply in BIM. What we want to do is get them integrated with our partnership program in incubation, so that they and NIBT research and development can work together to help them apply the programs across the board. I would love to do those kind of integrations with multiple companies and help both the organization and the students in the process. That's really the goal of incubation. Okay. So any other questions? Looks like we're all done here. It's been a long talk. So good luck. If you have further questions, you can talk to our counselors, and we'll continue to do this kind of question and answer session every 2 to 3 weeks. We're starting a program. We are looking for 20 candidates, to be honest. Oh, so Prasad just joined in. So Prasad says, I'm a fresher. I want to do a career in designing. Will BIM help me do so? 100%. If you are a fresher, I'll explain you something. About 10 years back, there was not a single program in a single institution in even the United States that taught BIM. Now every single institution teaches BIM. The point is, not a single fresher gets hired if he doesn't know BIM. Doesn't happen. The point is, BIM is important. It's like, if you won't get hired if you don't know, you don't have a civil engineering degree. It becomes a basic requirement. And when you know BIM, and when you come from a very strong background of BIM, I think there are so many people that can hire you, because you can just help their corporation grow at a faster pace and be more competitive in the market. So that's basically what it is. The question is not it will help. Question is, are you ready for it? It was definitely the future of construction. So fantastic. I think very, very good conversation. I loved it. I love to do this. So take care, guys. I hope to see some of you in our institution, and we'll talk more. We'll talk more about very core concepts. It's not going to be an easy program. I think it's going to be a very rock solid curriculum, and not just give away software classes and tools on books. So it's going to be hardcore. So be ready for it. Thank you. Take care.